cross comes in, and here he is. Uchida on the score sheet again for South Melbourne. Palambini shoots! Palambini!
Save, pop on the corner. Oh, it's in the back of the net. And it is the substitute, Kobe Nancaro.
It'll drop for Yanakopoulos at the back post. Wide across goal. Leopard! Oh my word! Down this left side. Cox works it in. Oh, it's in! Uchida spilled to Agwek, and he scored with his first touch. Here goes Agwek. He's going to try his luck from way downtown. Agwek! Unbelievable! Lampard! Superb strike!
20 to go. Habib could change that. He beat Gibson. And look what it means to Kahadzic and to those South Melbourne supporters. Now they can think about a place in the quarterfinals.
Some great highlights for South Melbourne. Match day 5 of the Australian Championship. And after a fortnight on the road, South are back at home at a wet and windy Lakeside Stadium. A cold snap has hit the Victorian capital as Broadmeadow Magic make the trip south, and given their situation in Group A, they realistically need to win their last 2 group matches to qualify for the quarterfinals. South has the best record of any team so far in the championship, 4 wins from 4, already through to the final 8, and a point will be enough to earn them a home quarter-final. So welcome along. It is match day 5. South in their traditional blue strip, and the players making their way onto a rain and windswept Lakeside Stadium with Eric Saba in charge of this particular match. Okay, let's welcome Joey Lynch into the broadcast. He's sheltering from the conditions here today.
Thanks, Bash. Here at Lakeside Stadium, a very wet and wild Lakeside Stadium. You can see the wind is blowing, the rain is coming down for this huge Group A fixture. South Melbourne already through to the quarterfinals. Broadmeadow Magic desperately trying to keep their campaign alive. Here with some of the South Melbourne kids. They've braved the weather, come out. All right, lads, who's going to win today? Broadmeadow going to win? No. South Melbourne going to win?
Yeah!
We go. The crowd here has spoken. You can see the QR code on your screens. Be sure to scan it, have your say as well. But now back to you up there, Bash.
Thanks, Joey. Yeah, have your say on the outcome of the match, and let's have a look at the team lineups. Predictably, Sinisa Kohadzic has taken the chance to rotate his squad for the home side. So for South Melbourne, 5 changes from the starting 11 that came from behind to win that match against Olympic last week. In comes Koda Kadua at right back, Menelau and Pope into the midfield, with last week's match winner Belil Habib and Bernarda either side of Manny Agwek, who's lit the championship alight with his quality of goals in the championship. And for Broadmeadow, 3 changes from the heavy defeat to Moreton City. Captain Jeremy Wilson gets his first start in the championship. Ben Diamond moves to left back with the suspension of James Kresnar. Ezra Palambini earns a recall, with Thomas Parks given his opportunity in a wide attacking role. It's going to be a tough match for Broadmeadow Magic. Of course, started their life as Newcastle Macedonia. Eric Saba in charge of this match. Patrick Teal the assistant with Luca Genamatas, and the 4th official is Brody Merchant for this match. And that is a great sight of the conditions. And of course, the Oceania team of the century, South Melbourne, competed in all 28 seasons of the NSL, 4 championships, 2 NSL Cups. And in the year 2000, they competed in the FIFA Club World Championship in Brazil. There's Sinisa Kohadzic, who's very well rugged up for this afternoon. Sam Pudikini's next to him, the assistant. Jim Kresnar on the right. long history. His father actually helped build Magic Park, the stadium at least, stadium grandstand, and they've had generations involved with the club. So kickoff just about to get underway at Lakeside. It's played host to so many exciting teams in the past, and this one has certainly been refreshed for the championship. And the match underway. South Melbourne have been the pace setters of the Australian Championship in its inaugural edition, and it's a great pleasure to welcome former NSL star and Socceroo Atek Gench to the broadcast. Genchi, welcome.
Thanks, Bash. It's been a long time. We haven't called a game together for ages, so I'm looking forward to a great clash here. The Australian Championships have been fantastic. They've captured the imagination, different vibe about the game, so we're looking forward to this game.
Absolutely. And some young players get their chance today. Of course, it's been tough to force your way into the South Melbourne starting lineup. I've had the opportunity, given their great form, 4 wins out of 4, just to refresh the lineup. Of course, the constant in goal has been Javi Lopez, who's 3 times been the NPL goalkeeper of the year, the Spaniard. And here is Kota Gadua, who's Lebanese international, had 1 cap for his country. Of course, Jordan Lampard scored a cracking goal last week. He starts on the left side of defence. There's Pope. Lampard knocks it forward in the path of Uchida, who's been one of the players of the tournament so far. Yuki Uchida, really good signing for South Melbourne.
Yeah, he's been great. Uchida, very lively, can play in wide areas, has been operating more as a second number 10 or just behind the front 2. But he's a handful. He scored a couple of great goals. So he'll be a handful for Broadmeadow, but a lot of it comes down to the approach of the game today. The conditions, as you can see, are wet, a little bit windy, and South Melbourne, we know, like to get on the front foot. So it will come down to how Broadmeadow approach the game. They are usually on the front foot in their home league. They've come first, but this is a different challenge.
Absolutely different conditions too from last week at absolutely perfect surface in Sydney at Jubilee Stadium. And there's Manny Agwek getting in behind. He'll be a constant thorn. He's got Habib on the right, who popped up with that brilliant goal late. 5 minutes into injury time to win the match at Jubilee. Of course, Max Mikula's not there for the long throws, but Jordan Lampard is. The left back's been ultra consistent for South. No Seb Pasquale. He's been rested along with a host of other players. You look at the bench, Ollie Laval's not there in the starting lineup. Jack Painter-Andrews. Charlie Leach is injured, so he's not even on the team sheet. Here's Pope, who gets his first start of the championship. Jack Pope, a good squad player. Kadua pokes it forward. Here's space for Habib. Just a little bit of a cumbersome first touch, but he releases Agwek! Manny Agwek scores! But the flag is up on the star striker. It was a sharp move and a great example of the rotation of South Melbourne ahead of midfield.
Yeah, great combination there. We saw that little pass, manoeuvring there, the little pass in for Agwek, who you just can't give him half a yard because Agwek will run in behind, off the shoulder here, and just offside. But that's what they're capable of. And that front 3, Habib, Bernarda, Agwek, are a handful.
Absolute handful. So the key for Broadmeadows, I suppose, Genchi, just to keep the defensive discipline and shape, which we saw them lose that against Moreton City, with James Cresner sent off inside the first 40 minutes of play, which was a big disappointment for them in the hot and humid conditions in Brisbane. They really did struggle, especially in that second half, and that scoreline of 5-1 was a blowout for them.
Well, the approach has to be, like you said, Bash, tight lines, deny space, ensure there's no little half space manoeuvres from South Melbourne, but they really need to ensure that they don't open the game up, because in transition South Melbourne can hurt you.
And there was a potential in the middle there, Polombini involved. Nancaro is the centre forward. Aaron Cox and Parks either side of him, so they have threats out wide, Broadmeadow, and we saw that against Sydney Olympic at Jubilee. We also saw it against South Melbourne at times. They played on the counter-attack at home. South dominated possession. Here's the previous chance. Great touch by Habib just straying slightly offside. Agwek. Zach Bowling gets a start in goal for the first time for Broadmeadow in this tournament.
Yeah, Zach Bowling, he's been part of the Jets Academy and moved to Blacktown City. Big opportunity for him in this game. A challenging opportunity. You're playing one of the best teams in the Australian Championships. But as I said before, it's just very important for Broadmeadow to ensure that they're well organised.
Breaks here for Bernarda! And that was a great chance. Did he get a touch on that Bowling? He may have. They're across to him pretty quickly, and the Argentinian had a perfect opportunity. Slight angle. Tough conditions. He kept his composure, but it sailed just over the apex of goal.
Yeah, great effort by Bernarda. Good save. But once again, Broadmeadow opened up. And some dangerous signs. South Melbourne, some ominous signs. They look very, very dangerous. Didn't need to close them down a bit more in midfield, Broadmeadow.
Uchida! Habib up well. Beecham defended superbly there for Broadmeadow. He's worn the captain's armband, but back into the starting lineup, Jeremy Wilson, their permanent captain. Giannakopoulos moves back into a central defensive role with Menelau and Jack Pope as the 6 and 8 pivots. There's Menelau. Kadua. Lampard plays first time to Pope, who stays onside. Jack Pope saw a pass that wasn't there. And the footing's going to be ever so crucial. Very firm surface here at Lakeside, so sometimes the rain does make it a bit more slick as far as the passing speed goes. Here's Pope. Agwek sees the run of Bernarda. Bilal in the middle. Habib rises back post, and it's turned in. No. Bowling does enough. Another great opportunity for South Melbourne.
Yeah, once again, ominous signs there. Broadmeadow just really need to tighten up. A bit more stronger in the press. I think at the moment there's too much room for South Melbourne. You see Jordan Lampard operating more centrally. Generally we see him as a left back, but he's pretty much calling the shots in the middle of the park there. Habib with a knockdown and Uchida from 5 yards out, and that's a good save.
It was like a cake of soap there for Zach Bowling.
And Kardzic has spoken about the fluidity of the way South Melbourne approach the game. You see Lampard back at left back right now, operates sometimes centrally. So that movement and rotation is very, very important in the way they approach their build-up.
Here's Uchida. Bernarda loves running at defenders, and he gets the chance once more, drives it in near post. He just needed a final application there. And Matty Agwek took the brunt of a collision at the near post. He's a fan favourite after scoring some spectacular goals in the championship so far.
That's Bernarda at his best there, just going past the defender. And another great opportunity for South Melbourne, but that one-on-one defending has to be better by Broadmeadow at the moment. It's all South Melbourne, as you would expect at home.
Lampard swings it beyond the back post. Beecham up high, and it's poked forward. Zach Bowling in the right place at the right time. And talking about Matty Agwek, who can forget that spectacular double against Moreton City, including one from nearly halfway. And now South Melbourne with some defending to do. Bernarda tracking back. Bilal has given away possession in a potentially dangerous area, and the chance to build. There's Cody Nankero, who can take up a central role but also peel wide. The number 7 for Broadmeadow. They've won the double-double under Jim Cresner the last couple of years, the championship premiership double in the Northern New South Wales League. Beecham all the way back to Bowling, who's had a very busy first 10 minutes or so. down by Uchida. Agwick was offside. You would hardly know it's summer in Melbourne today.
I think these are the conditions that players love playing in, Bash. The nice, cool conditions. Grass is a touch wet, as long as the ground's not too heavy. The ground looks beautiful, to be honest.
It takes the water quite well. Pretty firm surface underneath. And the two pivoting midfielders for Broadmeadow, Jack Simmons and Aiden Raftery. And here's a great opportunity. Nankero, a player in the middle. It's beyond Parks. And that's going to be easily defended by Jordan Lampard. That's a disappointing outcome for Broadmeadow.
Well, they were in a good area there, and poor delivery in the end because there was no one far post. But some more positive signs. Broadmeadow just keeping more possession at the moment. They started off patchy. Obviously, South Melbourne have had 4 or 5 really good chances in the first 8 minutes. So this is a little bit better. It's always in that middle of the park there. Whoever wins that middle of the park is going to gain that ascendancy. And like I said, you see a lot of rotation from South Melbourne. With players moving around, like I mentioned Lampard, but here's Habib.
Habib trying to jink and dive, and he's cut back in the end, but just didn't have enough power for Agwick. It was good work previously by Jack Pope to open up the pitch for South Melbourne. He started well, and he gets a chance for the first time as a starting player in the championship.
A bit of a cynical foul there by Agwick, and a bit surprised referees don't give out yellow cards for things like that. That was just an obvious pull of the shirt, but Agwick got away with it.
You can scan the code there, the QR code, to have your say. At the moment, obviously, with the start that South Melbourne have made, they are favourites to win the match. Broadmeadow did match them for intensity in the home leg a few matches ago, but it was Uchida accepting from Painter Andrews to score the only goal of the match in a match that they did play on the counter-attack. Broadmeadow Magic. They've had their stocks sort of thin through injury. They signed Upper Desano, who's out with an ankle injury. Also Jacob Kresnar sustained a groin strain in training, but he's on the bench, I noted. They've got William Ingram and Cochrane, Jared Baker and Kresnar, potential options for coach Jim Kresnar in the second half. That's a good searching ball for Habib, who's been everywhere in the first half of South, and that's a disappointing outcome.
Yeah, decided to take the early cross there, Habib. It would have been better maybe to go at his man, try to beat him 1v1.
Here's an opening down the right for Broadmeadow. Cox. Simmons from long range. Why not? In these conditions, not a bad ploy. Lopez was confident he had his angles covered.
Yeah, it was a good effort there. Simmons just wide, but good to see Broadmeadow throwing numbers forward in transition. I think that shows a positivity. But I just think they just need to tighten up a little bit, particularly the distance between the lines there. If you look at the footprint, they're a little bit stretched. Maybe come up higher a little bit from the back four.
Lampard. Bernardo. You can see Bernardo does do a lot of work when Lampard drops in centrally. And that's what you were inferring before with Kohazic. He's got a more dynamic, flexible lineup. Of course, they've recruited players that can play his system, which is pretty heavy rotation in the midfield. And here's Agwick. Offside being picked out, but you know, they're back to the South Melbourne of old, really, because the club's brand has been attractive, positive, forward-facing football, and that's exactly the approach that Sinisa Kohazic has brought back to the club.
Well, that's part of the DNA of South Melbourne from teams in the 70s, 80s, and obviously in the 90s when I played. Whenever we went down to Melbourne, it was high-tempo attacking football with some amazing footballers, and that's part of their DNA. That's how they want to play. And Kohazic has come in and change things up a little bit, giving them a bit more freedom, a bit more confidence to play the way they want to play. They're also good at controlling the tempo of the game here. You can see the right back inverting there, trying to receive the ball in space. Obviously cut out in that instance, but there's a plan, there's a method to the way they want to play out from the back, and that fluid movement is always there.
Here's Habib. Plays it early, looking for Agwak. Misdirected pass. Nankero. Again, releasing early, but that's not going to do the business for Polombini. You can see Albert Park in the background. Iconic stadium in Australian football. Of course, the blue track signifies it's also the home of Victorian athletics as well. They are co-tenants of this great facility at Lakeside Stadium. Here's Giannakopoulos. Been a really good addition. In fact, you must pay credit to the Director of Football at South Melbourne, Peter Kokotis, for attracting some really good signings along with Kahazic, getting some quality into the squad. They've released a few players along the way, so they've refreshed the lineup. Obviously, hoping to retain the majority of players beyond the championship for the NPL season. Of course, they've got the OFC Pro League, which is starting in January, a new league, the Oceania League. And it's quite fitting that South Melbourne, being the Oceania team of the century just passed, is part of that inaugural league.
Yeah, it's exciting. There's always changes in football. I mean, we see here with the Australian Championship as well. It just changes up a little bit, different dynamic, different vibe.
Uchida. Heavy touch, and now the chance for the release for Broadmeadow, but isolated was Nankero. Numbers with South Melbourne. Giannakopoulos played up in a holding midfield role. Here's Lampard. Bonata. Pope now switches left. See how they do rotate. Quick throw amounts to nothing for South Melbourne. And if you look at the way the championship started for them, wasn't the best of starts against Sydney Olympic in that first half at home of a Friday night match to start the championship at Lakeside. It finished well, 3-2 to South. Aliogla opened the scoring. Uchida equalised. Laval got on the score sheet, and Jordan Lampard with a winner to make it 3-2 in a pretty exciting match. And then they beat Moreton City at home 2-0, courtesy of Manny Agwek, and a tough win against Broadmeadow away. And then that 2-1 Olympic victory at Jubilee, as Jack Pope is in behind, and Beecham did enough to snuff out that attacking opportunity for South. So 4 wins out of 4, the best record so far. And when you look at the form in the championship, Genchi, really, South has stood out with Apia and Marconi to a lesser extent. They've been probably the 3 clubs that have stood out the most.
Yeah, I think obviously Heidelberg, Heidelberg, Marconi, and South Melbourne. Avondale have been decent. I think it's when you get to that quarter-final stage, anything can happen. You know, you could go undefeated right up into a point where the knockout is, and then lose. So they have to keep evolving, and we'll see Habib there with the header over the bar. But just keep talking about just Jack Pope. I mean, he's got an amazing work rate. You can see him central. We saw him out on the right. He's making forward runs in the box. So he's been released a little bit to go and help Uchida a bit higher up the park, with Menelau sort of sitting in. And we see a lot of, like I said, a lot of rotation. So just want to see a bit more sort of quicker combinations and some intricacies in what South Melbourne do, because those quick little combinations can hurt Broadmeadow.
Yeah, Broadmeadow largely on their heels, but no real change in the way they did play at home, actually, because South did control the tempo. Giannakopoulos all the way back to Javi Lopez. So a point at home would confirm a home quarter-final for South Melbourne Hellas. But it's now in the ascendancy. Broadmeadow, Nankero on the overlap. Two players in the middle. Good opportunity here for Cody Nankero. Just carried it a little bit too far. The cutback's good. And that's strong defending by Jack Pope. Across to cover that move by the number 8 for Broadmeadow, Jack Simmons.
Yeah, that's better from Nankero. Past his man there. And that is good defending. That's better. On occasions, the last pass and delivery hasn't been great. And that's what he needs to do, Nankero. Just getting those good areas and provide the service. But there have been some signs by Broadmeadow in transition that they can hurt South Melbourne. I'd like to see a bit more from Nankero and Polombini and Parks, just to get on the ball a little bit more.
Good defensive work by Lampard. Bernarda helping out. Uchida can't retain the ball, but it may work out here for Bernarda. Through the middle is Agwek. And doing just enough was Beecham. Shoulder to shoulder. As the last man in that area, you need to be pretty precise with how you're approaching Aaron Cox. Hit the referee and play will be stopped as a result.
Good work by Beecham. Well defended. Bernarda did well. That last pass just in behind, and Beecham got enough of his body in front to nullify the chance for Agwek. If you take out the first 8 minutes, Broadmeadow have been much, much better, despite the fact that South Melbourne have had a lot of possession. Just tighten things up a little bit.
Whether Kadua remains at the club after the championship is a bit of speculation at the moment. I think it applies to all clubs who have made some short-term signings to bolster their squad. Here's Uchida. Great first touch. Yuki Uchida charged down, and that's really good defending. Jack Diamond, the left back.
Great defending by Diamond, but poor pass out from the back. So many goals scored in this fashion when you lose the ball. And there, good defending. Uchida with a cross.
Ben Diamond lunging across for a very, very good challenge. And Jordan Lampard will swing it in once more. He's given that one a lot of air. Centering header by Yankovic. Habib didn't make great contact. Now the chance for Broadmeadow potentially to counter-attack. Here's Nankero. Kadua gets back. Simmons, of course, has had that A-League experience and won youth cap for Australia as well. Jack Simmons. Newcastle Jets, former Dandenong Thunder and Sydney Olympic player as well. He's been around the traps. Diamond. Polombini. Tricky customer, had a great match against Sydney Olympic at Jubilee Stadium. He's one of the match winners for Broadmeadow. That was their best performance and outcome, of course, of the championship. Beecham from long range, and he's hit it really well. Well, the defender looks like he's got a bit more of a license to get forward in this match.
Yeah, that was a better passage of play by Broadmeadow. I thought good possession, good combinations, patient at times. So I thought it was really good. It was a decent shot by Beecham.
Polombini. Aaron Cox. You can see he and Nankara just switching flanks momentarily. Cox goes inside. Kadua, they've got players arriving back post, and that's good defending by Jordan Lampard. We know what an attacking threat he's been as a fullback, but his positional work as well defensively has been impressive.
Yeah, he's been one of the standout performers in the Australian Championships. We've mentioned the crucial goals he scored, but he's a good defender as well. A good play for South Melbourne.
Didn't quite know what was behind him as well. So a corner here for Broadmeadow. So let's head down to Joey Lynch. Joey, the conditions tough for the players, but South are playing some pretty attractive football at times.
Conditions, the Bureau of Meteorology says that it's 12 degrees, although it feels like about 5 degrees when you take into account the wind chill and the like. The flags that dot the hill on the city side here at Lakeside, they are blowing quite fiercely. Supposed to be getting about 35 k an hour southwesterly winds for this game, so another challenge for the players on both sides to compete with. But after that early flurry, which certainly sent a bit of excitement through the Clarendon corner, who are in fine voice in the grandstand, the trumpets and the drums beating as Broadmeadow come forward. I'll throw to you.
And the shot is just wide of the mark, and that was another good opportunity as Broadmeadow are building a bit of a head of steam, and certainly the last 5 minutes or so, Joey, has been a lot more positive for the visiting side.
Earlier game as well, setting a bit more life through their hopes of advancing. They are really settling into this contest, and it certainly looks like we're going to have a game on our hands, Bash.
Absolutely. We know Broadmeadow at times have matched their opposition, but just struggle to piece together consistency over the entirety of the journey of a match.
You can see here, Agwek's just dropping really deep. Pick the ball up, Lampard inverting from left back into central midfield again, trying to create overload centrally.
Lampard with quick feet. Uchida tries to wriggle his way through.
But they've defended well, Broadmeadow. You know, take out the first, like I said, 8 minutes. It's been much better.
Well, breaks here for Manny Agwek. What a great chance!
And just
one
as
on
I
one,
say that,
and he buries the shot. Manny Agwek, after the double here a couple of matches ago, a slice of luck, but he had to finish, and he's done so with great skill. It's 1-0 to South Melbourne.
And as I was saying, I just said that Broadmeadow were defending really well. They'd come back into the game. But as I've said that, Agwek just found space in behind. You see a little deflection in behind Agwek. Great finish. Past the goalkeeper, Zach Bowling. And it's just there, just didn't defend that well enough, Broadmeadow. And you can't give Agwek those chances. He's been brilliant throughout the Australian Championships there. It's a deflection, a little bit fortunate. He came back, and it's been a little bit against the run of play, given Broadmeadow had come back into the game strongly. It's South Melbourne ahead 1-0.
Third goal for Agwek of the championship. He missed the first couple of matches, so he's been a bundle of excitement. Certainly sparking the South fans, the Clarendon end, always full of voice about Manny Agwek, and he's that type of player. You want to watch him.
Yeah, and he's good. You know, I mentioned earlier that he dropped really deep. At one stage, they had the left back, Lampard, and Agwek just in front of him in the middle of the park, and next minute he's behind, off the shoulder, scoring a goal. So that sort of movement and fluidity in the way South play can be very difficult to mark against. And it's you know, strikers who are dangerous in behind and off the shoulder are always going to score goals. And unfortunately for Broadmeadow, after getting themselves back into the game, that was not what they needed.
Absolutely not. It was a rebound, a real slice of luck, but you've got to make your own luck, and can see the way Agwick opened his body, and it was a clinical finish in the end.
Lesson for all young strikers. Just like you said, Bash opened his body and just tucked the ball away. Could have gone either side. And a great finish.
Broadmeadow Magic arrived in Melbourne on Saturday morning, so they didn't choose to stay overnight, or the night before the match at least. Hoping for a walk of the ground well before the match, but there was a big shower of rain and only got to look at the pitch an hour and a half or so before. Pope releasing Agwick. Here's Matty Agwick, centering ball, and it's turned wide. Habib arriving, or Cheetah arriving late, and that was Matty Agwick lifting the eyes and seeing that he wasn't the best shooting option, and tried to release the very clever Yuki Ochita.
Yeah, great work by Agwick once again on the right channel. Good save by Zach Bowling, and Ochita, he's always looking for those runs inside the box, as a good attacking midfielder does, and great save. Look, South Melbourne have had a number of chances to really extend their lead, but good save.
Kadua delivers back post, Habib, and the header's not the desired one for Belil Habib.
Well, great delivery. I'm not sure what Habib was trying to do there. I thought he might have headed that ball across the face of goal. It looked like he was going for goal, but it's another good chance for South Melbourne.
And that OFC Pro League starts in January, goes to May. 8 teams, 7 nations. Couple from New Zealand, Auckland FC and South Island United, Solomon Kings, Bula from Sovereign Fiji, PNG Hikari, Tahiti United and Vanuatu United. So 8 teams and a whole brave new world for South Melbourne in Oceania. I know management of the club, David Clarkson, previously did a lot of hard work to get the club to that point of entry into the OFC Pro League. Good work by Cox. Here's Nankero. This is a positive moment for Broadmeadow. Cody Nankero lays it off to Simmons. They retain possession well, but it breaks down in the final pass. And Pope should clear, and does. Lovely little 1-2 between Uchida and Bernardo. Well, that has been the hallmark of South Melbourne under Sunisa Kohazic. Remember, firstly, you had to avoid relegation. They were threatened relegation in the last NPL season, Genchi. Then he won the Doherty Cup against Heidelberg in that final to win a trophy in his first season, or first part season anyway. And the first time he's been a senior NPL coach. We know he's been the technical director of the club previously, under 21 coach, and won a title with them. He was the assistant senior women's coach with the Philippines. So he's been around and now takes the reins for the senior team for the first time.
And he's doing a great job. He's very knowledgeable, tactically astute. Kohazic has really given the players a lot of confidence. Hard to believe South Melbourne would be anywhere near relegation trouble in their league, but we did see the unpredictability of NPL football with Melbourne Knights getting relegated, so
absolutely,
anything can happen.
Yeah, advantage played. Habib can't get past a second challenge, but it bounces to Uchida. Uncharacteristically errant pass by him. And here's an opportunity for Broadmeadow to build, chasing the match. Edged out at the edge of the area too was Raftery.
Yeah, as soon as that ball gets played backwards in those zones, you're going to get yourself into trouble. And we see this transition moment here But Broadmeadow just really need to get in behind South Melbourne, which they haven't done enough of. And that was a 6v5 at one stage there for Broadmeadow. South Melbourne with 5 defenders to 6 offensive plays from Broadmeadow, and just the last pass and last decision probably just not good enough.
Here's Aaron Cox pushing forward for Broadmeadow. Back post, and there's a big opportunity. Wow. That was the moment for Broadmeadow. Thomas Parks, I think the youngster, arriving late.
Oh, that just had to be finished off there by Parks. Great work by Aaron Cox. He's a handful. He's strong. Beat his man. Great cross, and just kind of overran the ball there. Parks should have been 1-1. And there have been signs by Broadmeadow. We've said that. It's all about the execution.
Absolutely. We'll head down to Joey Lynch again. Joey, if you can hear me, I know you were involved in the launch of the OFC Pro League. I'm sure South Melbourne very excited about taking part in the inaugural league. Offside flag up on Manny Agwick.
See those rotations once again. Yeah. Pope operating wide right.
We saw this on occasions at home. Broadmeadow got players in dangerous areas on the counter-attack, and South dropped their guard. And there's been moments of hope for Broadmeadow Magic in this match, but just lacking a little bit of quality in the forward third.
Yeah, that's what it's come down to. Just that little bit of quality. They've had a couple of good chances. We'll see another shot
from distance. There's Aidan Gage Raftery. He's come from Maitland, signed for the club for the championship. There he is, the number 10, who plays alongside Simmons in the heart of their midfield.
Just want to see a bit more of Colombini, who's a really key player for Broadmeadow. Hasn't really been in the game as much. He's such an important player for them.
Colombini. Diamond. Had a tough 38 minutes, as has the entire back four for Broadmeadow. Tall figure alongside Jankovic is Thomas Giannakopoulos. Been a really good pickup for South Melbourne, as has Habib. Short to Kadur. Agwick. Good possession. Menelau to Lampard. And Bernarda plays it early. Near post is Pope. And again, Zach Bowling not too convincing coming off his line. Quickly releasing the dangerous Aaron Cox, has been the most potent forward option for Broadmeadow in the first half.
Great delivery by Bernarda. That last action, just in behind the back four of Broadmeadow, and particularly in those wide areas, if Broadmeadow or South Melbourne get in those wide areas and provide those early crosses, it's always a difficult decision for defenders to make.
So we're getting close to half time, and Simmons swings the ball in to the right. Knocked down, and the shot first time is wide. That came in from Charles Bidwell, the right back. We head down to Joey Lynch now. Joey, I know you had a bit to do with the OFC Pro launch, and I'm sure South Melbourne looking forward to playing the inaugural competition.
Yeah, they're very much looking forward to it. Sneža Kastic was one of their representatives at the soft launch of the league last week in Auckland. But of course, there has been a bit of consternation, particularly in New Zealand, about South Melbourne's presence in the league, given that they are Australian and based in the OFC as Broadmeadow come forward.
Here's Cox. We'll get back to Joey in a sec, and that's another good delivery.
Well, he's been outstanding, Cox. Since he's moved over to the left side here, strong, able to get past his man. He dinks the ball in far post. There's actually nobody there, which is the cardinal sin. You need to get bodies in the box.
Well, that OFC, AFC thing, Joey's been the perennial argument in the A-League as well, hasn't it?
Indeed, but in fact that was one of the reasons that actually helped South Melbourne's case. Got a chance to speak to OFC General Secretary Frank Castillo at that event, and he talked about how the fact that Auckland and Wellington, two OFC sides, were in the A-League men helped South's case in their application for the OFC Pro League. A bit of quid pro quo from Oceania, as well as opening up that Australian market, that Asian market, and that history that you mentioned.
Polombini over the top to Nankara, and Nankara just needed a better touch. I don't think he got any contact with the head, and that was a great example of Ezra Polombini's vision. Yeah, I suppose, you know, with the OFC, AFC argument, you've got to be consistent. You can't be ruling on one without applying the same principle to the other. And that's exactly why South are playing in the OFC Pro League. It's been such an interesting first half. I know the conditions have been difficult for the players to adjust to, and they lose the ball once more in midfield. Here's Nankaro, players forward here for Broadmeadow on the angle. Parks, and the young boy hits the near post, but also hits Harvey Lopez, who was well positioned, and Thomas Parks with another opportunity.
Well, that's 3 opportunities for Broadmeadow in the last 3 minutes, and some danger signs for South Melbourne in the way they are defending now, and they've lost the ball in the middle of the park a couple of times. There we see Parks, beautiful manoeuvre, little Ronaldo, and there shot and well saved by the goalkeeper Lopez.
Corner swung in. Good numbers for South to defend the set piece. And Agwek deep in his own half, the goal scorer, drops the head, stretches the legs, and opens up the pitch for South. Needs support and maybe carried it a little bit too far at a long-range effort, and that's ambitious. But if you're going to try a shot from that range, maybe conditions like today, the time you must attempt.
Well, he's more than capable, Bernardo, of scoring from those areas, but a great run by Manny Agwek right through the heart of midfield, of the Broadmeadow midfield, and once again another chance. They do look dangerous, South Melbourne. Both teams actually look dangerous, both ends of the park, but South Melbourne just seem to have a bit more of a cutting edge.
Here's Jack Pope. Bernardo. 2 defenders to contend with. Missed his mark, and Pope applies the professional tackle and will receive a yellow card as a result. Got through a power of work in the first half, Jack Pope. He of the large number, 99.
Some real quality players out for South Melbourne for this game. So Painter Andrews, Braden Spink, Pasquale, Nicola Laval. That's a lot of firepower that are either on the bench or not playing.
It means with Braden Spink out, Giannakopoulos moves back into that central defensive role.
He's a very good player, Giannakopoulos. I think certainly got the presence to be a top defender, but can operate in front as well, in midfield.
Cox back inside, very comfortable on the ball. He's got a good change of pace as well. Diamond, Simmons lifts the eyes and spots the run. Bidwell is the right fullback getting forward. Poor touch there by Beecham. May open the door here for Agwek. Little nod down for Manny Agwek. players arriving. Bilal in the centre. Agwick just carried it too far once more. He may have won the corner for South, but it could have been a whole lot more for the home side there.
Once again, it's Matty Agwick. He's a chief protagonist in this game. Everything seems to go towards where he is. A great run. He's won a corner for his team. And once again, we saw Jack Pope with that work rate in the box, waiting for a cross.
Corner taken square. Lampard. Kadua. You can see how the fullbacks switch. It's a very flexible lineup. Kadua's supposed to be the right back, but he's hugging the left touchline there. We're getting close to the half-time break. There won't be too much time added on. Cut back from Ujita.
Interesting to see what's said at half-time and which coach is happiest. I'm not sure Kahadzic will be as happy as what you may think, given they're 1-0 up, but there's a few things that work out.
And there it is. Referee Samba brings the first half to a close, and it was a slice of luck. They opened the scoring for South Melbourne. Matty Agwick's third goal of the championship, and half-time at a windswept Lakeside Stadium at South Melbourne 1, Broadmeadow Magic 0.
Half-time at a wet and windy Lakeside Stadium. You wouldn't know it was November in Melbourne, but South Melbourne have been right at home. 1-0 leaders in a rain-soaked first half. Manny Agwek with the goal, and Broadmeadow's chances of progression to the quarterfinals hanging by a thread. Josh Parrish here alongside Scott McDonald to take you through the big moments of this first half. Scott, South Melbourne, they've made a few changes. No Mikola, no Jack Painter-Andrews, no Pasquale, but they've looked comfortable despite having to shuffle their pack a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got quality and abundance to come off that bench and start games. But you look at their bench now, it's even stronger, isn't it, to come on and make a change in the second half. But they started the game ever so well. This one contentious for me, whether or not it actually was offside or not. You'd love to get a better angle. Just the angles he's run a little bit there. And, yeah, look, give the linesman the benefit of the doubt. But he tucked it away lovely. And, you know, he's so confident in front of goal, Manny Agwet, isn't he? And when he takes his chance so well. But this is a lovely ball from Habib as well, who's impressed me in this first half. Obviously got the winner last week as well. But himself, Ushida, Bernardo's looked lively as well. And it was a really good start for them. And this one here is obviously the finish in the end. They get a lucky break of the ball, but I just never felt that Agwek was ever going to miss from there. As soon as he gets through on goal, as calm as you like, he picks his spot.
Spirit defender Simon Nicholas, who scored his first goal in over a year. It may have been a consolation into stoppage time, but it was a special strike, Scotty.
Yeah, you know, he certainly just went, let's have a crack here, and it was a wonderful strike. Can't really celebrate it because obviously the result itself, but coming onto it nicely and picks his spot ever so well, and yeah, valid for goal of the week.
Absolutely. Well, he got the vote of the audience as well. Over 80% of you voting for that Simon Nicholas curler. Let's go back to our first game of the double header, where Sydney Olympic faced Moreton City Excelsior. They were 3-1 up until a spectacular comeback late on in the piece. This is the opening goal from Gloria Manda, and it was a bit of controversy about this one as well, the way they won the ball. Ali Orgler, how about that for a finish from an acute angle?
Yeah, 5 goals for Ali Orgler, and then Joe Scott getting his 4th of the campaign as well. Lovely little kiss off the inside of the post there, but Olympic came out really fast second half. Parkhouse coming on at half-time, making a huge impact with that to make it 3-1, but Murray getting on the score sheet to make it a nervy end, as it was for Sydney Olympic, not South Melbourne. And then the young man Jankovic doing what he done the last time out against Sydney Olympic, and getting his head on that one for a nice equaliser, and then a little bit of handbags at the end.
Well, Michael Vacas donned the Mexican wrestling mask after his goal against Moreton City last time out. I think he might be going for a career in wrestling after that post-game scuffle.
I think Trent Miller will be getting a bit of stick from his teammates after that Superman action at the end there. A little bit too much, but just all handbags in the end. A little bit of emotion. Yeah,
well, there's certainly plenty of emotion in it, and Cam Miller, I'm sure, was emotional post-game. We caught up with him after the final whistle.
All right, I'm joined by Cam Miller. Cam, how do you put that game into words? That had everything.
It did. Certainly not what we planned today, but what I will say, character from the players again to fight back late earns them a point. So pleased with the end of the game for sure.
I know it's not a win, but geez, that draw means a lot for you guys. It almost pretty much puts you through. Still one more game left, but talk us about that fight back. Unbelievable.
Yeah, context of the group, it's important to get the point, obviously, and to keep them from winning 3. So it puts us in a position. We'll have to wait and see the South Broadmeadow result later. But yeah, obviously, coming from behind's not easy to do, certainly in conditions here. And Olympic played that game well today in terms of how they managed the moments. But look, really pleased with how we fight back and get back in that game.
Do you feel like you deserve that at the end? You created so many chances. It just felt like a matter of time, didn't it?
Yeah, I feel like we did. However, I think it took us far too long to start playing today. We left it too late. We could have won that game had we played with the same intent for 90. But we'll probably take this away from home.
Cam Miller, congratulations, mate. Broadmeadow, the results, it's interesting to see what happens here, but Moreton City, they've put themselves in the box seat here to qualify out of Group A.
Wow, Cam Miller almost out of breath after that 6-goal thriller at Cogaroo. Might have been kicking every ball on the sideline. But we'll go to a short break, and we've got more action from Lakeside coming up on the other side. South Melbourne with the advantage thanks to Manny Agwek. The fans sheltering in the stands under the driving rain in Melbourne. What a contrast in weather forecasts between the two states today. But we've had some magnificent action in the Australian Championship this afternoon, and if the second half of this one lives up to what we saw in the first game, we are in for a treat. Broadmeadow are going to throw the kitchen sink at South Melbourne on the other side, so stay tuned. You've got David Bashir and Itek Gench with you for the second half from Lakeside Stadium.
Welcome back. The players back onto the pitch at Lakeside Stadium. South Melbourne enjoying a 1-0 lead, but not enjoying a lot of comfort late in that first half. There was some chances to Broadmeadow Magic. They had opportunities to get themselves back into the match. They failed to take those. So South hunting 5 from 5, have their nose in front at home in very tough, windy and wet conditions at Lakeside Stadium. Atek Gench, a former Socceroo, former Sydney United, as well as plenty of other NSL clubs. The current head of football at St George City is with me in commentary, and I suppose this is a great opportunity when you're looking at the championship, Genchi, to match up the best of the NPL, and you know, primarily there's other states involved, but the two big states, the best in Victoria and also New South Wales.
Yeah, it's been amazing. The Australian Championships, the opportunity to watch teams from Sydney play against teams from Melbourne and Brisbane and so on, and also gets you to understand and get to know players from different states, because there's always discussions around which league's the best and so on and so forth. There's always this perception around NPL Victoria and New South Wales in particular, and this is a great opportunity for us to have a look at players from both states and other states as well, and it's been great. Loved it.
So we'll pick up any changes, if any, at the break. You can see the players trying to keep warm because it is frosty in the middle of the pitch, especially for those coming from the north at Newcastle. Broadmeadow Magic, Macedonian background, a lot of history in the region, of course. In the Hunter region, there's 60,000 registered players, and Broadmeadow Magic have won the double-double in northern New South Wales in the last 3 years. So a few changes. Coming on as Sebastian Pasquale, and also Jack Painter-Andrews, so some constants from the first 4 matches, as well as the number 26, Campbell Doverson. So 3 changes at the break for the home side. Resting some players, bringing some key names in for the second half of this match.
Yeah, South Melbourne with a lot of depth, and those 3 that have come on are quality footballers. Pasquale in particular is an outstanding talent, and South Melbourne really secured that top spot in the group, so it's an opportunity to rotate players.
Early header there from Jankovic, the captain, getting to the more mature end of his career, Marko Jankovic. And given the conditions, a useful crowd at Lakeside Stadium, huddled up under the stands, under the cover from the pretty constant and heavy rain. Of course, the 3 coming in, Pasquale will slot into the midfield. Jack Painter-Andrews is a right back of great note. Campbell Doverson will play an attacking role for South Melbourne. Beecham sends Broadmeadow forward. Here's Pasquale's first touch. Doverson involved. Uchida, here's Campbell Doverson, releasing Uchida. Asking a lot of Bernardo, but Lampard will get there first. Bernardo slides it across. Manny Agwick with the outside of the foot. Looked to the top left-hand corner and said, I'm pretty keen on that spot, but couldn't find the mark.
Well, he always looks a handful, doesn't he, Manny Agwick? Once again, good build-up. Bernardo with the early cross. Agwick with the outside of the right foot. Maybe an argument for him to use the left, but another chance for Agwick. He always looks likely. But they say games are won and lost at half-time, and I'm sure that Kohadzic would have instructed South Melbourne to come out with a bit more purpose, a bit more tempo, as they did in the first 10 minutes of the first half.
Painter-Andrews sends it forward for Uchida. Menelau. gets a chance for the first time as a starting player in the championship.
Here he is there again, Manny Agwek just dropping deeper into midfield, linking the play.
Peter Andrews releases Uchida, looks for a decent setter to Bernarda, and was the flag up? It was on Yuki Uchida. He's not quite sure he was the wrong side of the defender. He had let the assistant know that pretty quickly.
I wasn't sure whether he was offside there. I don't want to be critical of assistant referees, but you know, it's from the time the ball is struck.
Simmons had a productive first half. We saw those chances through Parks and Nankero in the opening half of football for Broadmeadow, and they really did have some pretty useful opportunities in that first half of football. I think it's been synonymous with their championship so far. Created the chances but failed to put them away.
Yeah, they've been highly competitive, Broadmeadow. They've got a couple of good players in midfield. Raftery and Simmons are good footballers. They're not afraid to play Broadmeadow. It just comes down to that cutting edge we spoke about. You know, the ability of players in the front third to execute chances, and that's probably the difference between the top teams and the ones that are just underneath them.
Let's bring in Joey Lynch again. And Joey, do you think South have been a little bit humbled at times by Broadmeadow's ability to play forward quickly? Is that the way you're reading the play?
They certainly have had, I guess, warning bells ringing on a few occasions, but it also has been notable of this side, especially since Sinisa Kohastic has taken over, that they are better at taking a punch. Midway through the campaign, when Esteban Quintas left, they were really reeling, and that's one of the major accomplishments of Kohastic since he's taken over. They're not as brittle at this point. We saw last week when they were able to storm back against Sydney Olympic some of the steel that they have. So even if they're not playing as well, they're perhaps not as vulnerable as they might have been at the start of 2025.
Yeah, good point, Joey. Certainly have got a lot more intestinal fortitude, self-belief under Kohasic. Bernarda's been stripped of possession there. Aaron Cox had a good first half. Good turn by Simmons. Lovely first touch. He's got good close ball control, as does Raftery. There's the two players that Genchi mentioned in the middle of the park for Broadmeadow. Aidan Raftery, who apparently likes to be called Gage Raftery. He is a hyphen, but commentators have gone with Raftery. Cox takes on one. Eyes off Lampard, clips it in back post, and that is a comfortable take by Harvey Lopez, but Aaron Cox has been a threat out wide.
Yeah, once again operating on the right-hand side this time. Aaron Cox, he's the likely outlet for Broadmeadow.
Breaks for Menelau. Uchida with a drop of the shoulder. Here's Doverson. Campbell Doverson on the angle. Can score a goal. We saw that in the Doherty Cup final when he came off the bench against Heidelberg to score that brace and win South's trophy last season. Lampard joins in. Lampard in the centre. And that's good defending by Beecham. Well positioned. The big number 4 for Broadmeadow.
Yeah, good defending by Beecham. Good work again. That's really dangerous area for South Melbourne. That Lampard-Bernarda combination can create all sorts of opportunities for South Melbourne.
Now Peter Andrews has to track back. He, of course, provided the assist for Yuki Uchida's goal at Magic Park in the reverse fixture a few rounds ago. Pasquale nods it on for Bernarda. Pasquale can deliver a pass. Simmons tries to wriggle free, but Menelau with good strength and belief. Alex Menelau from distance, former a Victory youth player. Raftery. Anticipation good from Giannakopoulos. Bernardo, nice turn. Difficult pass to play for Rachida, very narrow and tightly confined in that space.
Well, South Melbourne really come out firing early in the second half, particularly in the counter press. As the ball is lost, they're right on top of the Broadmeadow players, so they can't move the ball forward quickly. They've really gained some ascendancy early, and I can see the tempo as well has increased a lot.
That allows stretching, and they've been caught here in transition. Raftery changes the point of attack down the left for Broadmeadow. And that's good composed defending by Peter Andrews. Doverson with good body strength. Trying to find Agwek.
Broadmeadow aren't out of the group in terms of their opportunity to get into the quarterfinals. They're still in it, but they really need to get a goal quickly.
Yeah, given that result at Cogra, 3-3, Olympic were all over Moreton City, 3-1 up at one stage before the Queenslanders fought back to share the points, and that really has put Sydney Olympic in a very precarious position in Group A. Failed to win some key home matches against South Melbourne and now Moreton City Excelsior. It's Giannakopoulos.
Well, it's always a concern when a team concedes goals in the 96th minute, which has happened twice against South Melbourne. And as you said, Bash, today against Moreton City. And it's highly unlikely they can progress given that Moreton City are 3 points ahead with a much better goal difference.
Giannakopoulos wants a short option, gets it in Agwek. And players building. Here's Doverson in the centre. Lampard arriving late. And that's good defending by Charles Bidwell. Peter Andrews. Oh, what a goal! Jordan Lampard. His third goal of the group stage. And he's been such an attacking outlet for South Melbourne. Class with a capital C for Jordan Lampard.
Yeah, great goal by Lampard. Great build up by South Melbourne. Built off aggression and the counter press. Broadmeadow just couldn't negotiate the ball forward. Won the ball again. South Melbourne midfield out wide. Great cross, and Jordan Lampard, he scored so many crucial goals in his campaign. And once again, the left back finds himself in the 6-yard box for the finish.
Well, he scored the winner against Sydney Olympic on the opening night. He scored the equaliser at Cogra against Olympic in the return fixture, and now little poke forward, very clever finish at the near post. Playing more as a centre forward at times, Jordan Lampard.
Well, he's played everywhere, hasn't he? Left back, he's found himself in the middle of the park as part of that rotation, and not afraid to get forward, and that's what happens when you gain midfield ascendancy. You allow players to get forward. You can see Hudzic now making more changes, more rotations.
Yeah, Bernardo replaced by Andrew Messarudi. Had a little spell in Spain. And now back under 21 player, moving up to the senior ranks in recent years for South Melbourne. Harvey Lopez, very clever distribution. Lampard's such a neat technical player as a left back. It's really great to see, and well, that's a bit surprising. 2-0 up, home side, and they're only 58% on the who do you think will win poll. You can use the QR code to vote. Have your say about the outcome of this match day 5 encounter.
Well, only 58% at 2-0. It's an amazing stat.
just been the rain, Genchi. It's been a huge blustery breeze across Lakeside Stadium, making the passing range a little bit difficult to negotiate at times. Davison tries to help it onto Agwek. Diamond does well in defence.
Just need to move the ball forward a bit quicker, Broadmeadow. I think is being strangled out of the game here. The aggression of South Melbourne after half-time, when we spoke about the half-time team talk, and they've come out really aggressive.
A tough match for Charles Bidwell, the right back for Broadmeadow. One thing about South, they don't rest on their laurels. Kahazic is at them all the time, demanding maximum effort and a positive outlook. Uchida side down. He's back at it once more. Yuki Uchida. Hear the blustery breeze picked up by the effects microphone, and that's a really good challenge by Jankovic. He may have given away the corner, but Raftery was in a dangerous area, so the South captain did well. Just before the hour mark at Lakeside.
This is the physical presence as well that South Melbourne pose to Broadmeadow. Two boys centrally at the back are very strong.
Ball sent in. Giannakopoulos wins the header unopposed. Good overlapping run, but Nankero offside. Well, disappointing scoreline, I'm sure, for Jim Kresner, the Broadmeadow coach. As I mentioned, a proud region. They've dominated the Northern New South Wales League in the last couple of seasons with him at the helm. Former technical director of the club, had spells at both the Central Coast Mariners and the Jets academies. Back to his childhood club.
But what a great opportunity for teams like Broadmeadow, like South Hobart, all these teams to be able to play against the South Melbournes of Australian football. It's a fantastic experience for them. And you know, I went and watched Wollongong South Hobart, and I was just curious to see how South Hobart would perform, and there's some really good players down there, and they're highly competitive. So as the Australian Championship starts to move forward in whatever format it is, it's just great to see these teams from different states.
Giannakopoulos. Agwek tries to get it out of his feet, but just caught under. And now perhaps a counter-attacking opportunity, but again, South have good intensity. Lampard didn't quite see the pass the way that Agwek wanted it. And now they turned around South. Raftery getting forward, but he's got a lack of support in the middle. Will have to go it alone, and a clean challenge, clinical, by Jordan Lampard. And there is Jim Kresner, who played over 200 matches as defending for Newcastle Macedonia back in the day. Played in their first ever championship in 1997. But as I mentioned, the last couple of years as head coach with great success. Polombini drives it in low. And that's not going to hit the mark from Jack Simmons. And Joey, we've spoken about South Melbourne, but so important for clubs like Broadmeadow Magic to play on the stage on a national platform as well.
Indeed it is, and it's fantastic to see them coming out here, and they're still trying to take on the game, which will be interesting to watch as the rest of this contest unfolds. South turning to their bench early and often in this second stanza, and you were talking about the aggression that they've showed since the halftime break, and it has been noticeable here at ground level, and with Broadmeadow ostensibly having to now push forward and really commit numbers forward in search of goals to keep their championship campaign, while their hopes of progressing somewhat alive. That could leave gaps in behind for these South fresh subs to look to exploit. But, well, as I'll throw to you, as Broadmeadow force a turnover.
And maybe a turnover they could profit from. Colombini can't find the pass. Messarini joins in. Maybe springs a counter-attack through Doverson. Up the line he looks. Agwick in space. Uchida in the middle. Slows it down. Laid off by Messarini. And here's a big chance. Pasquale! Uchida opens up the angle for the shot. Great technique! Yuki Uchida off the crossbar. Wonderful player who's lit up the championship. Messarini on the angle. And turned wide by Zach Bowling. Hammering away at the Broadmeadow goal.
Uchida, you can see there, very disappointed, but brilliant play. As he cut inside, it looked like he would have a shot with his right foot. Brilliant Cruyff turn. And ended up striking with his left onto the crossbar. Amazing work. Built off once again, aggressive defending from South Melbourne. And quick transition.
Jordan Lampard, the goal scorer, goes short and square this time with the corner. Menelau swings it in! Deflected header just wide of Zach Bowling's back post. Well, they've got that ability to spark into life, South. They've got the quality to do so. And look at this for a great example. Turning defenders inside out. Deserved a goal.
Yeah, that was brilliant. It was that little Cruyff turn he did. Sent two players the wrong way. We see a corner.
Sent in by Uchida. Pressure relieving goal kick for Broadmeadow Magic.
Well, they've been a different team second half, South Melbourne. It's the 65th minute, last 20 minutes, it's all been South. And you can see Broadmeadow really a 2-0 down, making some substitutions, hoping that they can at least get one back. If they get one back, you never know. But at the moment, they are second best.
Well, Jesse Hill is one player coming on. And the other will just pick up in a sec. Beecham coming off for Broadmeadow Magic with Thomas Parks. There is Jesse Hill, who can play as a central or wide attacking player, and Corcoran the other coming on. Luke Corcoran, who's more a midfielder, but an adaptable player for Jim Kresnar. Colombini, Pasquale trying to spring a counter-attack. Doverson loses possession, and Raftery lost his feet but recovered just as quickly. Bidwell. Looks like Corcoran's playing across the back four. Peter Andrews. Menelau. Difficult one for Doverson to control. Lovely little 1-2 at the edge of the area. Breaks down for Broadmeadow Magic. Pasquale waits for the run of Lampard. And the outlet is Messarini, who turns well and finds Doverson in space. Here's a great chance. Lampard. Just first touch let him down. Messarini retains it well. Lampard to Pasquale.
Yeah, once again, the counter press there. South lose the ball. They win the ball back straight away. Makes it life so much more difficult for Broadmeadow again. You know, that pace in that front third, to be able to get in behind South Melbourne, they just haven't been able to do that. And, you know, really at 2-0 down, you want to be sitting higher up the pitch, putting a lot of pressure on South Melbourne, which creates opportunities for South in transition. But here, body forward, quicker.
Lampard profits from a heavy touch. Agwek looks like he's offside, and the flag does confirm that. Yeah, he started in an offside position there, just could not bend his run. Uchida, Pasquale, space to explore for Doverson. Didn't get the power or direction on the shot to worry Zach Bowling.
He just couldn't get the ball out from underneath his feet there, Doverson. But once again, another chance for South Melbourne.
Jesse Hill, the substitute. Raftery. Bidwell. Hill swings it back post, and that's just a catching practice really for Harvey Lopez. They've got into dangerous areas but just have not been able to profit from moments in the match, Broadmeadow Magic.
No real aerial threat either from Broadmeadow, particularly against some tall timber there at South Melbourne's backline. But I want to see just a few more combinations, forward runs, you know, dinks in behind. Just need a bit more power in that front third to trouble South Melbourne. With 20 minutes to go, just getting that next goal so crucial for Broadmeadow.
Yeah, the first appearance in the championship for Regan Jose, young 18-year-old local product, was with the Mariners and Jets youth academies. So good opportunity for him in the remaining minutes. And just the experience of travelling in a semi-professional environment for a young man trying to make his mark. There he is with his first touch on the ball. Bidwell, and that's a little nudge on the edge of the area for Raftery. Jankovic looks up and thought, well, I'm just sliding in to make a clean challenge in behind for a corner, and that is not going to prove any problem given what we've seen from set pieces for Broadmeadow throughout this match, but things can change. Jack Simmons swings it away from the near post. You can see that height advantage that South have. They've got two very tall central defenders, Giannakopoulos and Jankovic. And here's Painter Andrews on the burst. Jack Painter Andrews, the fresh legs in the second half, and that was ambitious. And I suppose why not at 2-0 up with 20 minutes remaining.
Yeah, Mezzaruni in the middle was asking questions of Painter Andrews, who made a great run forward, but here that is ambitious from there. Just bobbled up, couldn't get on target. I suppose tactically, what is it that Broadmeadow need to do right now? It comes down to risk reward, the potential to cop a goal, but here we see
Hill
an opportunity.
That's a great centre, and what a intervention there by Giannakopoulos. Almost an own goal, but he was committed to making the lunge towards that very, very potent cross from Jesse Hill. They've won the corner, but it could have been a whole lot more for Broadmeadow Magic.
That was a good delivery there. Very difficult for the defender, Giannakopoulos. But once again, Broadmeadow, once they get in behind South Melbourne, can get a goal back.
Raftery with some clever footwork. Mezzaruni needs to retain the ball here, but has lost it. Simmons.
You know, the game can ebb and flow. South Melbourne have been so dominant second half. It's whether they can continue that for the whole 45 minutes. Broadmeadow need to believe and get bodies forward, but it's here that they could get hurt as well.
Davison is just the type of player to hurt them. Lays it off for Ochita. The creative juices are flowing for Yuki Ochita. This time he hasn't picked the right option. Scored that winning goal, the only goal of the match at Magic Park, accepting Jack Pater Andrews' centre to tuck it in nicely in the 6-yard area. And that's going to be really interesting, the way that South Melbourne managed the OFC Pro League with their NPL commitments as well, building a squad, a bigger playing group with more depth as Menelau is replaced. Ali Laval, the player coming on for South Melbourne. Former Western United player who's had a pretty progressive championship for South Melbourne. 2 goals in 12 A-League matches over a couple of seasons. Short-term signing for South. Or is that a corner flag that's been snapped by the wind perhaps, or maybe it was player pressure that did that? That's interesting. It looks like a clean break to me. How many times did you play at Lakeside as a player? You would have played at Middle Park.
Yeah, I played at Middle Park. I played at Bob Jane is this stadium here.
Which used to be Bob Jane.
Yeah. Yeah, a number of times actually. Loved playing down there. The atmosphere was unbelievable. I also caught a bit of stick from the supporters, but just loved being down there. And when I was at Parramatta Melita Eagles, we actually had a reasonably good record against South Melbourne, who were an unbelievable side at the time. Mickey Peterson, Paul Trimboli, you know, all those players. Paul Wade.
You played at Sydney United as well?
At Sydney United, yep.
There you go.
So,
replaced pretty quickly, but also Sydney Olympic, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I coached Olympic for a little bit.
Oh, you did, yes.
But I'll tell you, a place I used to hate going to was Olympic Village.
Yes, windswept Olympic Village.
Back in the day when the grass wasn't great. Obviously Summer Street, Melbourne Knights, difficult place to. It was always in the first half. You always wanted to go downhill and with the wind.
Yes.
Sunshine, George Cross.
Well, let's pay credit to what Heidelberg's done in this Australian Cup and also the NPL in Victoria. It's been just a brilliant season for them. Johnny Anastasiadis, best coach outside the A-League. Broadmeadow trying to push some attacking buttons. Bidwell, just a loose touch, and Yankovic takes over for South Melbourne, the captain. Just ran out of options there.
Defensively, he's been great, Yankovic and Giannakopoulos there. Like we mentioned, Bash, the physical presence is very difficult to break down. You saw him there just step into midfield and nullify any movement forward by Broadmeadow.
Uchida. Agwek looking for the double. Manny Agwek. Messaruni. Yeah, the flag had to come up at some stage. Looked like he was offside at the first attempt. Manny Agwek.
Yeah, he's been really good, Manny Agwek, but when he fills out his player profile, they ask him what his favourite position is, he'll put offside.
He's got a sense of humour.
That's an old joke, Bash.
Ah, okay. Oldie but a goodie. A little bit slow on the uptake, I am. Further substitutions coming on for Broadmeadow Magic. Bidwell. Here's Rafter. He's had a useful match. Very good technical player. Nice switch to Jesse Hill. Drop of the shoulder. Hill needs the right type of service here. Lampard's got the experience though. Jesse Hill swings another cross in, and this time it breaks for Doverson. South will try to manage this situation, but also when they find the openings, spring the counter attack. Here's Laval trying to slide it through for Agwick. And they run out of room at the grandstand touchline. Broadmeadow Magic. It's a frustrating situation at the moment for Jim Kresner. And there is the goal of the week. Simon Nicholas for Spirit against Preston Lions. As the overwhelming vote tally at the moment.
Yeah, I was at that game, Bash, the Spirit Preston Lions, and Jason Romero scored a double, but at 3-0 up, Preston Lions, and Simon Nicholas popped up with a wonder goal top corner, so he probably deserved it.
Jason Romero's had a very productive time for Preston, flamboyant player. Here's Pasquale. An attacking move breaks down for South Melbourne. Now players forward for Broadmeadow. Aidan Rafter is one. Drop of the shoulder trying to open up the angle. Just carried it too far. Peter Andrews is far too experienced to not deal with that type of situation.
Yeah, but that was brilliant defending by South Melbourne. That's great collective defending. Just ushered him away. 3 players had nowhere to go, and that's been a hallmark of what they've done in that second half in particular. Just does not look like Broadmeadow can break them down. It's in these wide areas they really need to be able to penetrate, and we saw earlier on that when they do get into wide areas in a 1v1 situation, Jordan Lampard's defended brilliantly, so much better performance by South Melbourne second half.
Laval, Doverson, and he just needed a bit more angle for Matty Agwick, and that was the moment for South Melbourne and Agwick to claim a double-double at home in the group stage of the championship. End-to-end stuff. We'll get down to Joey Lynch in a sec, but just see how this transpires for Broadmeadow. Slows down, and Joey, it's been an entertaining second half. Tough conditions, but both sides have come out to play.
Yeah, very tough conditions. We did have a bit of a merciful break in, well, the intensity of the rain, albeit might be picking back up, but the wind remains as cold and biting as ever, but maybe signifying just where we are in the game. It looks like Jake Charleston, the backup South keeper, is warming up, preparing to come on as Matty Agwick comes forward.
Oh, that's a lovely ball, and Agwick taken down at the edge of the area. I think that's going to be a straight red card. It was a goal-scoring opportunity. I don't think the referee has much option here. It was the quality of the ball from Laval and the run from Agwick. Well, I think he's very fortunate. Wilson shown the yellow card, and that's exactly what Achita's saying.
It was a great run by Laval to Matty Agwick, who just got him behind, and that tackle there, you're right, Bash, I probably would have given a red card for that.
Well, the referee has got to be satisfied it's denying a goal-scoring opportunity.
I think the proximity of that second defender
yep,
saved him there, but there, one more touch.
Oof. He's got nowhere near the ball, and you're right, it's the proximity of the defender that saved him from the straight red, but it doesn't take away from the danger of this set piece. Nature of this match has been end to end, and Both teams who like to play with the ball, prepared to take the calculated risks. Well, this does set up for Jordan Lampard's left peg. Also, Pasquale and Agwek can deliver. Both Agwek and Lampard looking for a brace of goals. It is Agwek, and it's off the wall, in behind for a corner.
You see Agwek there just trying to place that ball underneath the wall. But I think the angle may have been better for Jordan Lampard, but Agwek full of confidence there. All did its job.
Jordan Lampard again delivers with the height to the back post, but it was ill directed. He's favoured that type of delivery from the corners this afternoon. Manny Agwek has gone down. That's exactly what they don't need leading into the quarterfinals. Player of his attacking ability. There's Sam Putakidis in the beanie. Who played in South Melbourne's last NSL match, an away final against Adelaide at Highmarsh Stadium, and in infamy he was red carded in that match. So Manny Agwek just hobbling off the pitch, and it looks like the reserve keeper Jack Charleston may be coming on for some minutes for South Melbourne. So Agwek off. And Lucas Inglese on the pitch for South Melbourne. Uchida takes over. Angled run. Laval stays onside. Ollie Laval is there. Support of the centre. Laval goes it alone. Messarudi wanted it pulled back, but it was a difficult angle for Laval to do so.
Yeah, that was great work by Uchida to win the ball in the middle of the park. And the quick release to Laval, who's been very good since he's come on.
Is there a goal in Broadmeadow? There was no contact with the defender. He just lost his footing, and that was unfortunate. Doverson stripped of possession. Here's Simmons. Thinks about the shot. In the end, it was a poorly delivered angled ball. He would have been better served to test the reserve goalkeeper, who's on the pitch now for South Melbourne. Jack Charleston. Inglese. Uchida gets an important touch. Laval controls it well. Messaruni tries to stay onside. The flag was up. Must have been up on Ollie Laval's run. It was a tight call.
Well, as Broadmeadow push up, so many opportunities for South Melbourne. Transition and great opportunities. Laval in particular has been lively.
I hope you're enjoying the championship. Live, free and exclusive on SBS and SBS On Demand. Of course, the proud host broadcaster of next year's FIFA World Cup from Canada, the United States and Mexico will be keeping a very close watch on the draw in early December to see what the Socceroos get in the group stage. Here's Simmons. Oh, and that's a very awkward challenge by Inglese. Surely will be a yellow card on the South Melbourne defender. Raftery literally wrapped up in that challenge, which results in a free kick in a good area for Broadmeadow Magic.
Yeah, it's a great chance for Broadmeadow to snatch a goal. We've seen late drama throughout the Australian Championships, and you just never know, do you? If they can score here, it could be a nervous last 5 or 6 minutes for South Melbourne.
Ball positioned by Charleston, and let's see what Jack Simmons can produce from the set piece. Good distance, good angle. Simmons doesn't quite get the dip, got the power but not the control. And it's really summed up Magic's afternoon on a wet and windy Melbourne Saturday afternoon. 65-35. Now the fans are warming up. Laval, it's been a live wire since coming on. Difficult afternoon for Jeremy Wilson, the captain of Broadmeadow Magic.
I'm trying to work out where his shin pads are. Laval.
He's got the lighter version on. And Glacier. Pay to Andrews. Giannakopoulos has gone into a midfield position. Then Glacey's move onto the pitch. Lampard. Early ball played in. Uchida couldn't trap it. He'll get a second chance, Lampard. The turn from Laval was unsuccessful. And Simmons lifts the eyes and try to deliver Raftery into an attacking position.
There's one more game to play in this group, so it'd be interesting to see how they approach the next, or the last game, South Melbourne in particular, before the quarterfinals.
Here's Bidwell. He's got through a power of work with the right fullback this afternoon. Ambitious ball played in the middle, and it was just an aimless one at the end. Peyton Andrews had the angle covered.
I think it's just been too strong, South Melbourne, in the central defensive area, and their tenacity in the second half in midfield just has not allowed Broadmeadow to penetrate at all. A couple of moments here and there in wide areas, but it really nullified any attacking threat.
Great passing move. Pasquale lifts it over the top. Uchida takes it at his stride. And Messaruni is offside. Both players, in fact. Uchida at the first attempt. But what about the build-up? The ability to change the dynamic and the passing range, the speed of play?
Yeah, it's all about the tempo. Like you said, back to the passing range, being able to play in behind when appropriate, being able to play the short passing combinations have been really, really good second half for South Melbourne. And it hasn't been perfect, but certainly they've shown why they're top of the group. And a lot of that comes down to ball retention, technique, decision making, obviously. They've just had that edge and that power as well. I just think they've probably just outmuscled Broadmeadow a little bit. But Broadmeadow have never stopped playing football, and you know, I've got to give them credit for, you know, not playing. That looks offside as well.
Well, it looks clearly offside. The flag hasn't got up yet. Laval to finish off the upright. Ollie Laval at the second attempt, and it is saved in the end. Whether the flag goes up now, Zach Bowling made that goal-saving effort between the posts for Broadmeadow Magic. Section of the South fans shielding themselves from the conditions. Well, he was... Oh, it's hard to say from that particular shot, but he looked to be offside from the other angle. It's only academic, really. So 5 minutes of additional time. We're already a couple of minutes into that. Pasquale sees the pass early. Uchida, Doverson. Laval in the middle. Doverson goes it alone. And again, just the final ball into the area. There's a little bit too much penetration, not enough shape. and failed to find the oncoming Ollie Laval.
Well, good option by Doverson, good play by South Melbourne. He's had a lot of room on the right-hand side there, but the execution not quite right. But another chance for South Melbourne.
And credit must go to the way that Sinisa Kohazic has brought this group together. New faces in the squad. They've been integrated quickly into his system. They've hit the ground running. And they're soon going to have the best record of any team in the championship. They did before this match, but they've extended that record in this match day 5 encounter. Preparedness to play out from the back. Flicked on by Messaruni. Laval. Free kick there for South Melbourne. Ollie Laval fouled by Simmons. And with a minute remaining, it'll be a set piece opportunity for the home side. Pasquale. Lampard's scored some cracking goals in these championships, including that one off his non-preferred right foot against Olympic, the goal that equalised at Cogra at Jubilee Stadium before Bilal Habib's winner late.
Yeah, it was a great goal by Lampard. Right foot. I think it was about 8 minutes to go. Olympic up 1-0. And then a 2-1 win. It was a great result.
Scully wanted the free kick, but the referee wasn't too interested. And Glacy does well. Scully all the way back to his captain Jankovic. They'll look to recirculate. Maybe one more opportunity here for South. But there it is. A perfect 5 from 5 for South Melbourne Hellas. Goals in either half. Started off with Manny Agwek in the opening 45 minutes, with Jordan Lampard coming up with his 3rd goal in the championship. In fact, both goal scorers with 3 goals in the championship so far. 5 wins, 15 points at a perfect record for South Melbourne. The final score at Lakeside Stadium, South Melbourne 2, Broadmeadow Magic 0.
South Melbourne's perfect record remains intact. Their 5th consecutive victory, and they're sitting pretty at the top of Group A, looking like one of the teams to beat when it comes to the quarterfinals. But we'll take a short break. All of our post-game reaction from both Lakeside and the earlier kickoff between Moreton City and Sydney Olympic coming up on the other side. So don't go anywhere here on Super Saturday.
football back home. It'd be great to be on SBS again.
It's going to definitely give the Australian Championship a massive, massive platform.
You're not just showcasing yourself on YouTube or anything anymore. It's SBS, it's massive.
It's great that it's going to be live free there. It's great exposure.
Every player want to be in TV, and I think that's really good for the people in Australia.
Now I can tell all my siblings I just tell them to turn on SBS and watch me there.
It's the best thing to happen to football in Australia in a very long time.
It's integral to all these clubs and fans and players to have the games broadcasted live.
That's where you want to be on free-to-air SBS. Everyone watches it.
To have football back on, I guess, the main stage of where it all started, it's exciting. It's a great opportunity for the whole of Australia to watch.
You never know what's going to happen.
We just hope that we can do this code proud.
For every football lover in Australia, you know, when you hear the SBS, you think about football.
I grew up with watching the World Game on SBS.
On Sunday from first thing in the morning. All day football.
I was an avid follower of the Captain Socceroo with Johnny Warren.
Craig Foster. Yeah, Les Murray days, you can't forget it.
All the iconic moments in football have been on SBS.
SBS was the home of football, so it's great that we're back there.
Australian Championship action coming to you live on free and on SBS and SBS On Demand. And it's South Melbourne who emerged victorious in the second half of our doubleheader. 2-0 winners over Broadmeadow Magic and their 5 wins from 5, making this Australian Championship look easy. Josh Parrish here alongside Scott McDonald for our post-game show. Scott, South Melbourne just in control from start to finish, really.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, like you said, they got the goal. They had one chopped off early on for offside in the first half as well, and then it just taking up, you know, where they left off in the first half and the second half, and there was chances aplenty. Just a little bit frustrating, probably for South Melbourne, that they couldn't stay on side as much as they would have liked to. But this is a goal. Dovison with a delivery, and Lampard, once again, I'd said it last week, I'm going to say it again, more like Frank Lampard arriving in that box, isn't he? 3 goals in this competition, no goals all season in NPL Victoria. Lovely little outside of the boot, near stick, and yeah, from that sort of close range, no chance for the keeper, you have to say, and that made the day pretty much comfortable from there on.
Well, I mean, Jordan Lampard looking like a striker at the near post. You know, you couldn't tell that he's a left back in that spot.
What's the left back doing in there? You know, he's been given a sort of free role, hasn't he? We've seen that throughout this competition. He's been inverting a lot as well, and you know, he's had a lot to say within this competition for South Melbourne.
Certainly has, and I mean, the way that they're playing with the fullbacks now is maybe an evolution of this South Melbourne style under Sinisa Kahadzic. They are inverting into the pitch more often. They're getting into the box more often, and they've got freedom to attack situations like that. South Melbourne could be a tough opponent to come up against just because those players coming from the outside are so unpredictable.
Yeah, I think they will be. You know, they're more or less, you know, very resolute at the back. They've always been that. Going forward as well, they seem to be finding their feet, that connection now. Habib Bilal come off, obviously Habib, you know, at half time, but Ushida lively as ever, again hitting the crossbar. You know, a new player, Agwek, as well. So it's new players up front and just trying to connect to each other. So they'll use the next game as well to try and get that connectivity a little bit better. And yeah, without question, they're going to be a huge threat when the knockout phases come.
Well, there was one moment of controversy in this game, came late on. Potential for a red card here. Were Broadmeadow lucky to keep 11 on the pitch for you?
I think so, particularly for the first tug, more so than the second one, because the first one is an offence within itself. Yes, he stays on his feet, but then obviously to go to ground. The only thing that I think that saves him, yes, is the other defender, but also as well his touch. His touch is that heavy. Is that going to go through to the keeper as well? Maybe that's on the referee's mind, but you have seen them given. But right call as well outside the box. So I'll give the ref some credit. You know, I was a bit harsh in the first game.
Well, maybe a little bit of a reprieve from Broadmeadow as well. I did have an influence on the final scoreline. Yeah. But let's hear from the victorious South Melbourne head coach once again, Sinisa Kahadzic. We saw him celebrating last week in the Hellenic Derby. A little bit more rugged up this time around at Lakeside, but he is loving life at South Melbourne.
Well, thanks, guys. Here with Sinisa Kahadzic. Once again, the winning coach of South Melbourne. Perfect 5 from 5. What your side's flying in this competition? What's your secret?
Yeah, well, listen, every player's doing everything they need to do, and we're slowly gelling, and we still got work to do. But again, everyone that comes in and does their role, and it's been going well, yeah.
I know it wasn't spectacular, not 5 or 6, but are these the kind of wins you love as a coach? It's a miserable day, you rotate the side a little bit, but the boys come in, they do the job, and in the end you get those 3 points.
Yeah, again, that's important that we win, and we want to continue that. But at the same time, it's important that we have a clean bill of players, and hopefully everyone scraped through with no injuries today, yeah?
Well, we did see Manny Agwat come off late in the game, and I did notice that he walked rather gingerly into the tunnel before the full-time whistle sounded. Any early indications what he's done?
No, he's just that tackle, last man tackle in there was just maybe a little bit of bruising from the knock, but he should be fine.
Cool. 5 from 5 now. That does guarantee you top spot in Group A and a home final. You get to stay here in not so sunny Victoria for the knockout game. Just how important is that to have the Clarendon corner in your corner?
Yeah, very important. They are our 12th player here on this ground, and we just want to continue this.
Well, Sinisha Kohastic, coach of South Melbourne, congratulations. See you in the quarterfinals.
Thank you. Thank you, Richie.
Sinisha Kahadzic easing our concerns over Manny Agwek when he came off at the end there. You don't want to lose a player like that, even just for the neutrals. He's so exciting.
Yeah, he absolutely is. You know, he took his goal ever so well. He was very, very composed. Had that one that was offside earlier. Probably just never held his line enough today. That would be my only frustration if I was his coach or even as a fan at times, you know, because he's that quick. He's electric. He doesn't really need to go that early, and that was probably just the one thing I could probably say that wasn't good today on his behalf.
Has it been a soft group for South Melbourne? Yes, they're 5 from 5. Maybe we're concern trolling a little bit here, but they haven't been tested maybe against the very best of this competition. It's allowed them to kind of slowly bed in these new players and hit the ground running. But once they get to the quarterfinals, it could be a shock in terms of the intensity they're going to face.
Potentially, but on the flip side of that as well, Josh, you get confidence from it, don't you? You know, 5 wins from 5, you know, being solid, new philosophy, a lot of new players. So I think they'll be in a good sort of space when they get to that knockout stage.
Well, they're looking fearsome. Let's hear from the goal scorer in the second half. Jordan Lampard is in the form of his career. He spoke to Joey Lynch.
Thank you very much. Here with one of South's 2 goal scorers today, Jordan Lampard. Jordan, you've been at South for a few years now, and you've already blasted past your combined goals figure for those seasons here in the Australian Championship. What is it about this competition that agrees with you so much?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm just in the right place at the right time. Main thing is obviously we've got the 3 points, but yeah, it's always good to score.
Well, you have got the 3 points. You've been very good at that so far in the Australian Championship. You're perfect through 5. Just what sort of confidence does the team have right now at the top of Group A?
Yeah, we know we can win any game. We go out to set out to win every game, so that's the main thing. And then whoever we get in the quarters, hopefully do the same thing.
Well, you've also guaranteed yourself a home game now in the quarterfinals. We can hear the Clarendon corner in the background, that trumpet. What does that do for you?
Yeah, we know always playing here. The fans come out. It's a terrible day today, and they're all showing out in full voice. So we know that home quarterfinal is going to be really important.
And you faced off against Broadmeadow today. They pushed you hard. It looked like there were a few moments where you were questioned, but got the job done. Just professional performance from you and the lads?
Yeah, 100%. We knew last week we played them a couple of weeks ago. They're always good on the counter and happy to get the clean sheet. That's the main thing as well.
Well, Jordan Lampard, thank you very much. Back to you guys.
Jordan Lampard can't quite put his finger on why the goals have suddenly fallen his way, but he's enjoying himself, and so is South Melbourne.
Yeah, it's like buses, isn't it? They don't just come in ones, do they? 2s and 3s, and it seems to be the case for Jordan Lampard. And like we talked about before, he's been excellent throughout this whole campaign. And, you know, not just his goals, but his all-round play has been absolutely superb to this point.
Well, speaking of goals coming in bunches, we had 6 earlier this afternoon, a 3-all draw between Sydney Olympic and Moreton City. And here's the comeback. Sydney Olympic were 3-1 up, but then the penalty awarded against Teng Kuo. The outstretched arm up-stepped Sata Murai to bury it into the top corner and give them a lifeline. And you just felt the doubt starting to creep in for Olympic as soon as that goal went in, Scott.
Yeah, you did. And then obviously they get the late one here. You know, ever so deserved, you have to say, in terms of the last 10 minutes of Moreton City pressure that they put on Sydney Olympic. You know, looking at that from Sydney Olympic perspective, you'd be hugely frustrated once again, taking, you know, the lead and playing ever so well for good chunks of the game, only to get it taken away from you, just like last week again. And they'll be kicking themselves, you know, tonight, thinking now, you know, what an uphill task it's going to be. It's almost an impossible one to turn it around now that Moreton have got 7 points. But there's still a chance. You never know.
Yeah, it's still a chance mathematically, but needing results to fall your way on the final day, the goal difference, Sydney Olympic, you could see by the reactions at full time that they just didn't feel like it felt like it had slipped through their fingers, and you can see the 4 goals difference there. They need to beat Broadmeadow Magic next week and hope South Melbourne do them a favour against Moreton City. But South are 5 from 5, so they may as well go 6 from 6.
Yeah, just depending obviously what their attitude towards this and how many changes again. But Moreton City being at home as well, they'll be confident and wanting to put a show on for their own supporters in that one.
Well, having a look at Group B, Wollongong face Heidelberg tomorrow, and they need a result, considering Marconi will be heavy favourites against South Hobart.
Yeah, it's a huge game for them. Obviously, the last time out against Heidelberg, deserved winners Heidelberg in that game. This is a massive game for Wollongong Wolves, but there's just so many tomorrow as well as we're going to see through these group stages. It really is the business end of this championship.
Well, it looks as if West Arthur and Bayswater City will be dueling it out for top spot. Metro Stars still technically a chance if they win tomorrow. Then Group C is tight as a drum. Canberra still in with a shot on 3 points, but Preston and Spirit on 5 each, and then Avondale topping the group on 8. That could go any which way. Here's the fixtures coming up tomorrow. Your early kickoffs are South Hobart at home at Darcy Street against Marconi, Heidelberg facing Wollongong, and then Preston Lions need the win at home against Canberra, Croatia. They've got a few walking wounded as well after last week against Spirit. Avondale host in the later kickoff against Northwest Sydney Spirit. A win there will see them top the group, and Metro Stars against Bayswater City. Well, that's all we have time for today. It's been a super Saturday once again here on SBS in the Australian Championship. Sydney Olympic thought they had it in the bag. 3-1 up against Moreton City. A classic comeback from the visitors to steal a point and just about seal their progression to the quarterfinals. And then South Melbourne getting the job done at home against Broadmeadow Magic. They're making it look routine and staking their claim as one of the favourites for the competition. Broadmeadow now need a miracle next week to make it through. So we'll sign off here on SBS. It's been a pleasure to have your company, Scott McDonald, and you at home. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Super Saturday in the Australian Championship.